100 political parties submit applications for Nepal's proportional election system, commissioned to review and approve applications ahead of March 5 polls. Nepal observes International Human Rights Day. Country faces scrutiny as human rights concerns emerge over recent protests. Storm Byron threatens Gaza. Flash floods, strong winds and hail put displaced families at high risk. Democratic Republic of Congo faces humanitarian crisis as M23 rebels capture key positions, hundreds of thousands displaced. Kathmandu Gorkhas facing off Lumbini Lions in the match for elimination round of the ongoing second edition of Nepal Premier League Season 2, and Cambodia withdraws entire delegation from 33rd SEA Games. Safety concerns amid border tensions lead to pullout from Thailand-hosted event. Hello there, I'm Smitu Gising Tamang and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now, the news in detail. Election Commission of Nepal has received applications from 100 political parties for the proportional election system. These parties submitted their applications before the deadline for the proportional category of the House of Representatives election, which is set for March 5. The Commission had designated the registration period for parties aiming for the proportional election from 7 to 9 December. According to the Commission, during this time frame, a total of 100 political parties applied for the proportional election system. Among the applicants, there are parties that have opted for a joint election symbol as well as those that have chosen a single election symbol. The Commission has indicated that it will conduct a thorough review of the applications received and aims to approve them December 12. As per the Commission's schedule, the closed list for proportional representation is to be submitted on 28 and 29 December. Following a necessary review of this list, the preliminary list will be released on January 19. Claims, objections and required scrutiny will take place regarding this list, with the final list expected to be published on February 3. Out of the 275-member House of Representatives, 165 members will be elected through the direct election system, while 110 members will be elected via the proportional representation system. Meanwhile, in Doti, Nepal's far eastern district, the district election office has recommended reorganizing polling sites and centers across the district. There are 115 election centers with proposals to add 8 more to improve accessibility for voters. For instance, in the Payal-Silguri Municipality Ward Number 2, the polling center at Devi Secondary School has been suggested to move to a nearby health center due to its distance from voters. Similarly, in Ward Number 6, the polling center at Shaileshwari Primary School is proposed to be relocated to Pavitra Residential Secondary School. The district currently has 177 polling booths, which are expected to increase to 182 if the recommendations are implemented. The office stated that the addition and relocation of polling centers aim to make the election process more organized and accessible for voters throughout Doti. Public service broadcasters Nepal Television and Radio Nepal are to increase their broadcasting contents related to upcoming House of Representatives election. As the Election Commission intensifies its preparations, both state-owned media institutions have centered their programs and news on creating a conducive election environment and informing the public about the Commission's ongoing work. Executive Chairperson of Public Service Broadcasting Nepal, Dr. Mahendra Bista, briefed Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari regarding the work being carried out by NTV and Radio Nepal along with their future plans. Election Commissioner Bhandari emphasized that the role of mass media and all sectors is crucial in ensuring the election's success. The Human Rights Day is being celebrated across the world today. Nepal is also marking the day, organizing various activities across the country. The day is observed commemorating the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, a seminal document on human rights with landmark resolution. The UDHR was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10, 1948. The theme for this year's Human Rights Day is Human Rights Are Everyday Essentials. UDHR is the most translated document in the world, currently available in 577 languages from Abkhaz to Zulu. As the world marks International Human Rights Day, Nepal faces renewed scrutiny over its handling of last month's youth-led demonstrations. Prime Minister Sushila Karki has identified corruption as a major bottleneck to development and transformation in recent years. The Prime Minister noted that corruption transcends economic implications, posing a serious threat to the fundamental rights of vulnerable, powerless and marginalized groups. The Prime Minister said this in her address to an event organized by the National Human Rights Commission NHRC in marking the International Human Rights Day and the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights today.
पक्षलाई सहयोग गर्न नेपाल सरकार अपील गर्दछ, अनुरोध गर्दछु।
We'll take a short break here. More news coming up. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. The Embassy of Nepal in Bangkok, Thailand, has repatriated 47 Nepali nationals involved in various illegal activities, including online gambling, online scams and illegal casinos. The individuals, originating from 26 different districts of Nepal, were returned in coordination with Thai authorities. In an official statement, the embassy said the Nepali nationals were involved in illegal online casinos, online scams, gambling and other illicit financial activities. With the support of relevant Thai security agencies, they have been identified, detained and safely repatriated to Nepal via Nepal Airlines aircraft on Wednesday. The embassy also urged Nepali citizens to exercise caution when seeking employment abroad and to ensure they pursue only legal and verified opportunities. We're now connecting to Nepali Ambassador to Thailand, Mr. Tan Bahadur Oli from Bangkok, who gives us more insight on the matter. Your Excellency.
Hello.
Am I audible to you, Your Excellency?
Yes, please go ahead.
Welcome to NTV World Primetime News.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump to the question straight. Are there plans to investigate or take legal action against the Nepali nationals involved in these illegal activities to Nepal?
Pardon? Could you repeat it again? Hello.
Are there any plans to investigate or take legal action against the Nepali nationals involved in these illegal activities?
Thank you. Thank you for giving this space to this matter in your television news and to make people aware. Basically, the embassy is concerned about the rescue our nationals wherever they are, in whatever condition they are, in other lands or abroad. So we are more focused on their rescue, repatriation safely. But the point is the number of people being trafficked to the illegal work in scamming or online cheating or whatever in this part of the world is increasing day by day. That means either we are not focusing more on the sides of investigations and bring the culprit to the punishment, or otherwise we are facing this number or this sort of trafficking more in coming days. Why I'm saying so, if you just see the figures, what we have rescued in last couple of years, in the financial year 2080-81, we have rescued 68 people from similar type of work where they were trafficked, or most of them were unknown about their work and destinations. But the next year, what happened in 2081-82, the number increased, the rescued number, I'm saying it, 156, from 68 to 156 in next year. This year, till this month, till today, is still we have many more months to go in this fiscal years. We have already rescued 141 Nepalese from all these scamming centers being operated in Golden Triangle. So it shows the data that if we do not focus more on bringing the culprits in the net of the our law and punishment, this number is going to increase day by day. That's a much more alarming and serious matter. That's why we have already requested, we always request our concerned authorities in Nepal to see the case more seriously, not all, bringing them to the net of our legal provisions to punish them or control them, and the supports of all medias, network, or news, whatever public media we are having like you, to make it more, publicize it and make people aware.
And
so
Your
this
Excellency,
is what we request.
So how is the embassy ensuring the safety and rehabilitation of these individuals after repatriation?
Well, thank you. As missions, our role, our limitation is mainly the abroad and back home. We are more focused on rescuing them from different difficult situations with supports and taking supports from different agencies here in Thailand, in Myanmar, in Cambodia. But after sending them back, repatriation back to the country, there are many other agencies like Cyber Scamming Bureau or Anti-Human Trafficking Bureau and many other agencies. We are requesting regularly to rescue, to investigate the matters and who are involved in trafficking, who are the real culprits and who are the victims. So I request even our medias, embassy's roles is not in investigations. Embassy is here to rescue and repatriate our nationals safely back home from foreign land.
And do you think these incidents are isolated cases, or do they indicate a larger trend of Nepalese being exploited abroad?
Well, this is a bit different than what we have seen in other labor destinations. The difference is mainly is the people, our citizens, those who are being trafficked, they are not illiterate. Basically, they are educated, they have knowledge of IT, and they have knowledge of good English language, so as they can communicate to others and they can work in scamming and others. It means our general normal awareness is not enough. We need to make them aware about like what are the situations they are facing here. They torture them. If they do not meet the target of the scammers, they torture them even up to death. Recently, we have sent some dead bodies as well, if you have noticed it before. So it is a serious matter for us. All younger generations, very young people, mainly the younger generations and educated people, they are being attracted with false promises of good job or opportunities. So these are the matters. That's why we need to focus more on investigation and bringing all those culprits into the network of our legal provisions. And we have to be serious on that. But here, as an embassy, as we work abroad, we are more focused on our rescue, repatriations, and safety of our Nepalese people abroad. But back home, I suppose I'm hopeful that our mechanisms are working on that direction seriously, but the number is increasing. And if I see only rescue people from our missions in these 3 years, the number is increasing. It's really alarming and serious.
And lastly, Your Excellency, I'd like to ask, Thailand, the country, is very much sought after destination for tourism for Nepali nationals. How do you think this event will affect this?
Well, Thailand is not the destinations for all those traffickers. It's being a transit country. So basically from Nepal to Thailand, UAE to Thailand, or India to Thailand, they come from different destinations to Thailand, but they are not working in Thailand. Basically, they are working in Golden Triangle, that is near bordering to Thailand. So it's in Myanmar, it's in Cambodia, it's in Laos, in that Golden Triangles. It's a huge network of all international scammers and all these IT-based crimes are happening. So many people from many countries, almost 38 countries are being involved in that. Our people are being trafficked via Thailand. It's not the destination itself. Thailand is not the destination. It's the transit country, and people are bringing them from different destinations and bring them back here in Thailand, and then they traffic them to those Golden Triangle area where they have very huge establishments so far, we understand through international media. So it's not Thailand itself, it's a transit country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Excellency, for joining with us. This has been a very helpful insight.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Nepal's ambassador to Thailand, Don Bahadur Oli, giving us insight about the recent repatriation of Nepali nationals from Bangkok to Nepal. Now, moving on. Nepal today concluded the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence with renewed calls from rights advocates and experts to urgently address the fast-growing threat of digital abuse targeting women and girls. This year's UN theme, Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls, resonated strongly across the country, where online harassment, misinformation and cyberstalking have been steadily increasing. Nepal has formally observed the 16 days of activism since 1997, yet incidents of gender-based violence remain widespread. Advocates now warn that digital sphere, once viewed as an empowering space, has become a new frontier for exploitation. They highlight that stronger legal protections, improved digital literacy and broader awareness are essential to protecting women both online and offline. This year, Nepal's 16-day campaign against gender-based violence marked a notable shift in focus, from traditional physical forms of abuse to the rising threat of digital violence. Experts warn that the digital space, once seen as empowering, has become a new frontier for exploitation and abuse, making awareness, legal safeguards and digital literacy crucial. To take a closer look at this growing concern, here's the details by Sarah Sapsanamarai.
It starts with a message, a threat who knows your daily routine, or the shock of discovering your face has been digitally altered into explicit content. This is technology-facilitated gender-based violence, a surge of abuse that uses digital tools to inflict physical, sexual, and psychological harm. Globally, between 16 and 58% of women have experienced it. In the Arab states, 60% of women internet users are victims of violence in the online space. In Eastern Europe and Central Asia, that figure is above 50%. In sub-Saharan Africa, a study of 5 countries found 28% of women had experienced online violence. And in Europe and the USA, nearly 1 in 4 women report online abuse. The most common forms are sexual harassment and stalking, carried out through unwanted messages, social media posts, and tracking via GPS and applications. But the list of abuse is long and severe, from cyberbullying, hate speech, and doxing to intimate image abuse, sextortion, and deepfake exploitation. While all women are at risk, some face greater danger. 58% of girls and young women have experienced online harassment. Women of color, women with disabilities, and LGBTIQ+ individuals are also at higher risk. Women in public life are targeted to silence them. 73% of women journalists have experienced online violence, and 1 in 3 women parliamentarians in Asia Pacific have faced online attacks. UN Women warns this surge is driven by a growing backlash against women's rights, the rapid rise of artificial intelligence, and the expansion of misogynistic manosphere.
As part of ongoing efforts to reduce violence against women and girls, Balpastino rural municipality in Nepal's east has intensified its campaign to end child marriage. The municipality has stepped up the campaign under child-friendly local governance. Chair of rural municipality Prem Shrestha says signature collection pledges and various community-level awareness programs are being carried out to discourage child marriage. Since child marriage creates obstacles in education, affects health and contributes to rising incidents of gender-based violence, the municipality has been informing communities about legal provisions and working to bring reported cases under legal action. Priority has been given to taking action against those who encourage child marriage and reviewing services and facilities provided to families involved in such cases. The government has launched a 3-month mental health awareness campaign starting today. The initiative, running from December 10 to March 14, aims to raise awareness about mental well-being under the slogan "Healthy Mind, Healthy Life." The campaign will involve nurses and local health workers conducting mental health awareness programs in schools. The initiative comes in response to the impact on public mental health following the recent Gen Z movement. Minister for Health and Population Sudha Sharma Gautam, during the inauguration, emphasized that ensuring access to essential mental health medicines and treatments across the country is a top priority. The government is particularly focusing on children aged 6 to 18, as statistics show that 18% of school-aged children in Nepal experience some form of mental health issue. On average, 1 in 10 people faces mental health problems, and 1 in every 40 deaths is linked to such conditions. Last fiscal year, 7,055 people reportedly committed suicide due to mental health issues. To support individuals in crisis, the government has also introduced the 1166 as National Suicide Prevention Helpline under the National Suicide Prevention Program. International news coming up next. For now, a short break. Welcome back. Now the updates from across the globe. Gaza is bracing for Storm Byron as flash floods, strong winds and hail are forecast across the region, including the West Bank, from today until Friday evening, according to the Palestinian Meteorological Department. Authorities in Gaza have warned that hundreds of thousands of displaced people living in flimsy tents are at high risk. The government media office highlighted the vulnerability of families who have already faced conflict and hardship. In the Zeytoun neighborhood of Gaza City, displaced residents assessed damage after rainwater flooded their tents. The approaching storm poses severe challenges for Gaza's displaced families, exposing them to dangerous conditions with limited shelter and resources. Civil defense extracts bodies of 400 martyrs buried in Al-Shifa Hospital courtyard for permanent burial. For the second consecutive day, civil defense teams in Gaza City continue to extract the bodies of 400 martyrs who were killed by Israeli occupation forces during the war on the Gaza Strip in order to bury them in permanent cemeteries. It is worth noting that medical staff were forced to temporarily bury them within the courtyard of the Al-Shifa medical complex during the period when the occupation army was besieging the hospital until they could be exhumed and buried in cemeteries. The United Nations says around 200,000 people have fled their homes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo after the M23 rebel group launched a new offensive backed by neighboring Rwanda, the UN says. Local officials report the rebels have pushed into the outskirts of Uvira, a strategically crucial city in South Kivu province, just days after a US-brokered peace effort in Washington. At least 74 people have been killed and several military possessions have fallen. The peace agreement signed last week obliges Rwanda to halt all support to armed groups, but the rebels themselves were not part of the accord. Both Kinshasa and Kigali accuse each other of violating previous ceasefires, and the rapid advances by M23 are now seen as a major setback to diplomatic progress. More international news after this short break here on NTV World Primetime News. Lumbini Lions beat Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets in the eliminator round of Nepal Premier League. In the match that concluded a while ago at TU Cricket Ground in Kirtipur, Lumbini Lions met Kathmandu Gorkhas' target of 112 runs in 14.4 overs, losing 6 wickets. Lumbini will now face Biratnagar Kings in the second qualifier of NPL Season 2 tomorrow. The winner of the second qualifier will face Sudur Paschim Royals that has already booked place in the final scheduled for Saturday. Cambodia pulls its full delegation from the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand over safety concerns linked to a border dispute. The country has announced it is withdrawing its entire sporting delegation from the 33rd Southeast Asian Games currently being hosted in Thailand. The National Olympic Committee of Cambodia says it informed organizers on Wednesday morning, citing heightened tensions along the Cambodia-Thailand border and what it describes as serious concerns and requests from the families of the athletes. The committee says the safety of its competitors must take priority and that the ongoing border dispute has created uncertainties that make participation unsafe. And before we wind up, let's take a look at the headlines one more time. "100 political parties submit applications for Nepal's proportional election system. Commission to review and approve applications ahead of March 5 polls. Nepal observes International Human Rights Day. Country faces scrutiny as human rights concerns emerge over recent protests. Storm Byron threatens Gaza, flash floods, strong winds and hail put displaced families at high risk. Democratic Republic of Congo faces humanitarian crisis as M23 rebels capture key positions, hundreds of thousands displaced. Lumbini Lions beat Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets in NPL eliminator to face Biratnagar Kings in second qualifier tomorrow. And Cambodia withdraws entire delegation from 33rd SEA Games. Safety concerns amid border tensions lead to pullout from Thailand-hosted event. That's all for NTV World Primetime News for now. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, www.nepaltelevision.com. This is me, Giseng Thamang. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Bhutan has been a fantastic trip so far.
People come here mainly for the main target species and because birds are more easily seen.
Jungi khatoine training khandi gyamdi the autochi jinsomdi the najimbale dang miselde name sam phento yoro shin.
In the valley nestled beneath the sky, where the snowy mountains reach high, the Sukteng Wildlife Sanctuary grows with life. The land of Yeti, as the people of Sukteng calls it, with tales and myths that flow through the unique culture of nomadic tribes in eastern Bhutan.
This part of Bhutan is the home to the Brokpa people, an ethnic minority of yak herders who migrated from southern Tibet in the 13th century.
The pastoral community was once home to a man with a dream. However, tragedy took place when the man was a victim of a fatal car accident. His death had a devastating effect on his family. His daughter, Ngong Chensom, had to give up on her education. Her mother, Leki Demak, grieved and felt sad for the challenges she is facing.
Ama ngata ke olumba ke so amke the rango be intention ya lumbegi is one alham thoso dazi ne chige hab to medi nilam nala ma ton tanoi ne chige hab to medi the same me am.
Why do I care so much for this place? Why am I supposed to stay here? I don't know what exactly is waiting for me in this sanctuary. There must be a reason why I cannot bear to leave my village. I live in harmony with the land. A timeless rhythm so great, and my paths, although unknown, and a life without hindrance that I grew up. As I travel across this land, I see the beauty, the clean air, the majesty of nature so difficult to ignore.
Ni sa than lu khan gam de sing motor da ke na thukina or bethong sing dene besing shuksing the motor da ke thubina le yu thar ko gi am me la kang shen de inji da chi thon prugu su me de mi che tu ka da me da ba tin de sem shon de yu kang yu de inji da chi de os nam so khal da os chogina.
Sakting is a wild haven where red pandas, Himalayan black bear, snow leopard, and musk deer hide in the forests. This is a land of myths and mysteries intertwined in perfect harmony.
And my zone is, and then as we go higher up, we're going to get the trogopans and monals and blood pheasants. So it's people come here mainly for the main target species, and because birds are more easily seen in Bhutan than other parts. So Bhutan has got more charm to looking at the birds out here.
Rising in the early hours, my heavenly dream fades with the rising sun. Descending the stairs of my happy homestay, a familiar scene reminds me the wealth of our local handlooms.
They pop that church. Oh, don't was in time issues.
In a closet, hidden away, lies my collection. Colorful and cheerful memories of costumes ready to play. Drawn by the sounds of music, I like to see a group of women dancing to the rhythm of old songs. It made me feel lost in the pace and movement of the dance. Getting back on track, singing and dancing really brings the sense of togetherness and love for the traditions in my community. While walking in the peaceful village of Sakting, I could not help but feel a sense of reverence in the air.
Saathen Khajigam the Gunbul Hagama Kusho Guru, the Boronze Gunba, Sarum Shara.
Residents spoke about sacred religious sites dotting the landscape.
Crops struggled to survive in the mountains. Now, with the introduction of greenhouse, fresh vegetables are taking flight to serve visitors to Ngawang Chensom's homestay.
A few local delicacies in the local alcohol.
By adapting to the challenges of climate change and finding new ways to grow food sustainably, she contributes to securing a bright future for her community and the planet. All is well in the village of Sakteng, but with a growing population and increasing number of shops, the pressure on waste management becomes a challenge. Ngawang's decision to stay at home reflects the value of the preservation of cultural heritage and natural resources. By promoting sustainable tourism, we can make tourism work for everyone and appeal to future generations.
This is my first time visiting any Asian country. I'm very impressed with the beauty of Bhutan, the landscapes, the mountains, the valleys. The people have been very friendly, and the weather's been nice for us. Everything's just been lovely here.
Although they bid farewell to this beautiful song, we could see their emotions that they do not express or hide. Here, everyone's eyes are sparkling and glowing with happiness. These people, their culture and their environment have touched Ngawang's heart that she will never forget to go back to her village with hopes and aspirations.
Intermittent playing hide and seek with the folk, enchanting one's heart with the sight of fully bloomed rhododendrons, and rejoicing in the lap of nature with the chirping of the birds. When you set foot in Sandakpur, you experience a wonderful feeling of heavenly bliss right here on earth. Due to the ever-changing weather and the snow-white mountains visible right in front of your eyes, Sandakpur constantly draws everyone's heart towards it. As a habitat for numerous species of birds and endangered wildlife, Sandakpur always leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all. Situated at an altitude of 3,636 meters above the sea level, Sandakpur is located at Ward 2 and 4 of Sandakpur Rural Municipality in Nepal's eastern Ilam district. Embracing the mountains of Nepal, India and Bhutan, Sandakpur is the only place in South Asia where one can observe the Himalayas of all three countries. While enjoying the Himalayan settlements, one can observe the sunrise and sunset from Sandakpur. It is the only place in Nepal from where over 60 mountain peaks, including the Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Pathivara and Kumbhakarna can be seen from one spot. Being the source of the holy Mai River, one of the 4 major rivers in Elam, Sandakpur is also revered from a religious standpoint, attracting pilgrims from Sandakpur Ridge. The settlements of Elam, Jhapa and West Bengal of India seem so close that it feels like you could hold them in the palm of your hand. The crimson glow of the sun rising from the Bay of Bengal in the morning, glittering upon the mountains. The joy of witnessing this form such a height is majestic. That is why in winter for the snow and during the monsoon for the rain, the number of visitors from both home and abroad to Sandakpur is on the rise. Among the different species of rhododendrons found in Nepal, 36 can be spotted just along the Sandakpur trek. The rhododendrons blooming all over the forest captivate every heart. With the chirping of birds, the cliffside honeybees, and the opportunity to study endangered species like the red panda, vultures, while enjoying nature, Sandakpur journey has captivated trekkers from around the world. Every year, more than 150,000 tourists from India, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Europe visit Sandakpur. Known as the Bird's Eye Place, Sandakpur was declared a one province, one cultural village by Nepal government in 2018. However, the place still awaits infrastructures like drinking water, electricity and proper trekking trails. Sandakpur can be reached after a 42-kilometer ride from the Elam headquarters via Mai Pokhari and Kalu Pokhari. Another route to Sandakpur is from Elam Bazar via Biblate, Sulubung, Mabu and Kalu Pokhari. When trekking to Sandakpur, the highest point of the Mahabharata range, the joy of staying in the homestays and hotels along the way while savoring local cuisine is immeasurable. While forging a connection with the Himalayan settlements, enjoying herbs and local produce, and playing in the snow in winter and the rain during the monsoon, you must visit Sandakpur at least once in your life.
Hom Bahadur Tamam, a gifted Thanga artist from the spiritual heart of Bodha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
Thanga चाहिँ मैले 1970 सिक्न सुरुवात गरेको. मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो, साइला दाइ. मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो. पाटन, भक्तपुर, छामेल, दरबार स्क्वायरमा यसै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो. अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ, आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो. त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ, आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि.
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, Home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thanka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दै रहेछ त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो एउटा मात्रै थियो अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Bodha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामछाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन कलेज छैन हस्पिटल छैन रोजगार छैन त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर दाल भात खाएको अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यस कारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अन्त टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यहीँ तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेछ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यु लिन्छु त्यसपछि एक हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि एक हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन उ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
Buddhism in Nepal हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्वसम्पादकमा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौं लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो उहाँले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै ठाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा हो मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन विदेशीहरूले जानेकै थिएन उनीहरूले त्यो सुरसुर आउँदाखेरि सानो तिनी एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर नेट किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मान्दै लाइन थियो अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका युरोप तपाईको यो सिङ्गापुर ताइवान मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ त्यसकारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ यसको मार्केट छ
As an artist, entrepreneur, and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others, and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे पनि 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ त्यो त निश्चित हो नि एउटै निश्चित छैन कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन तर त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढ्यो ठुलो गाडी त्यस्तो होइन तर मलाई खुसी छ सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ यही थाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो युरोप गयो चाइना घुम्यो बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसाको आपत पनि परेन थाङ्गा सँगसँगै लान्दै बिर्बिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो त्यसकारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि
Welcome to NTV World Insight. Nearly 1 in 3 women globally, that is an estimated 840 million women, have experienced physical and or sexual violence by an intimate partner or a non-partner at least once in their lives. In just the past 12 months alone, roughly 316 million women, about 11% of all women aged 15 and older, suffered physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner. Looking more regionally in Asia, and particularly in South Asia, the burden remains severe. Across the region, lifetime and recent past intimate partner violence continue to affect a substantial share of women, cutting across geography, class and age. In Nepal, the reality is equally harsh and heartbreaking. According to latest national data, among women aged 15 to 49, about 11.4% report having experienced physical and or sexual violence by a current or former intimate partner in the past 12 months. Lifetime data show that a large proportion of ever-partnered women have faced physical violence at some point in their lives. But the landscape of violence is also changing. Increasingly, women are facing threats in the digital space, from online harassment, cyber stalking, non-consensual sharing of images, to targeted abuse on social media platforms. For many women and girls, especially younger ones, the internet has become another arena where silence is enforced and fear is cultivated. Digital violence not only mirrors traditional patterns of abuse, it amplifies them, reaching survivors anywhere, anytime, often with no safe place to retreat. So despite progress in legal frameworks and gender equality policies, many women in Nepal continue to live under threat in homes, in communities, and now even on their screens. Spaces that should be safe, families, institutions, digital platforms too often fail to protect them. So, in today's episode of NTV World Insight, we will try to look into these realities and, with hope, explore how we can change them structurally, culturally, and personally. It is my privilege to introduce our guest, a committed advocate for women's rights in Nepal, a leader who wears many hats and truly needs no introduction, Mrs. Bharati Silwal Giri. Welcome to NTV World Insight.
Thank you, Sarah Ji, for inviting me to this episode of NTV World Insight. I'm also highly honored to be in this talk today and to be talking or focusing on an issue that impacts heavily not only for women and girls but also for the whole world.
Mm-hmm. You've had a decorated and highly contributing career, and you have a lot of social contributions when it comes to policies, forming policies and advocating for women's rights. But the numbers, if we look at it globally, in Asia and even in Nepal, it's just, it's worsening. What do you think we are not doing? Do we lack in efforts in order to improve the scenario for the women overall?
I don't think the efforts are lacking. In my view and in my experience, there is enough awareness, because for centuries now, we are now in the 21st century, there has been a lot of talk, a lot of awareness, a lot of interventions, innumerable. Nevertheless, what I feel is that unless and until our values, which are based on patriarchy, unless and until we are able to dismantle or eliminate or do away with those values, the oppression of women and girls, no matter what caste or class they belong to, will continue. And let me make it clear over here, the oppression of caste, class, ethnicity, religion may be related to oppression based on sex and gender, but they're not the same. Mm-hmm. What I personally feel is that oppression, or violence particularly, based on sex and gender is grounded in the male supremacy. Mm-hmm. That is based on patriarchal values which are upheld by religion. Mm-hmm. And therefore, as you rightly said, what are we not doing right? I think it is about, again, come back to the social values. In fact, if you look at the way Nepal has progressed from a totalitarian regime of the panchayat system to the federal system of today, the political framework, the dispensation, the political dispensation has changed, but not the social and cultural values that are based on religion. And therefore, even if today we have democracy and federalism, violence against women and girls continue unabated and with impunity, mm-hmm. because they are grounded on social and religious values.
Mm-hmm. You recently celebrated 70th birthday, I believe. Coming back to the issue that we are talking about, how do you think violence against women has evolved over the course of time? And as you rightly mentioned, it does not see caste or religion or region as well. I think it's a story of every woman anywhere, any part of the world.
Right. Thank you for reminding me my age. And I think I still need to do so much more. You know, it's never enough. Mm-hmm. And it's not just only me. There are countless of women who have been advocating, and also including men, who have been advocating against violence against women and girls. What needs to be done is at the individual level. Of course, we are all aware. And in the beginning, you yourself said there are no safe spaces, whether it be in the home, it be in the community, it be in the market, or it be in the state. There are no safe spaces. Why? Because women and girls are still seen as commodities. Imagine in 2012, there was this horrific Nirbhaya case in Delhi. You know, on 16th of December, Nirbhaya, who was outside at night with her friend, with her boyfriend, alighted on a bus, and there she was gang raped, brutally, you know, with iron pipes. And there was a huge uproar, a huge outrage, not only in India but elsewhere too. But And we would have thought that sent a strong message for those predators who think that women and girls are commodities. But even after that, there were 7 horrific cases of rapes. And we would have thought that, oh, that is enough, that we have enough awareness, we have enough intervention. But a photojournalist, she was gang raped while on an assignment with a male colleague by 5 other men in 2013, just a year, exactly a year after that. And in 2017, a 17-year-old pregnant Dalit woman was gang raped by a man who had impregnated her, a man from a political party named as Hindu Munani, and after raping her, he cut out her genitalia and forced the fetus out of her womb. How gruesome is that? So we would have thought that these cases sent strong signals or messages, but they continue, and even till today, for example, in America, it is said that every 4 minutes, violence against women and girls take place. In India, every 15 minutes. We don't have the data for Nepal, but it is happening every day. And you said that 830 million girls and women have become victims of violence in the last 10 years. But since more women and girls have died than men who died in 2 world wars put together. In the 2 world wars, 100 million men died. But over the years, more women have died than those figures put together. So it is not enough that we just talk about it, that the legal system tries cases. In fact, now in India, there are executions for horrific crimes of rape and violence. But even then, it does not deter. Legal remedies do not deter violence against women and girls. And why is it? Because, as I said, violence or the threat of violence keep women and girls from asserting their rights and freedoms, prevents them from entering public spaces and participating in public processes. And in my 70 years, what I have seen, or when I became conscious of these issues, what I have come to realize that violence is the primary agent that reinforces and replicates violence or gender inequality across generations. And therefore, what we need to understand and what we need to send out a message is that we need to socialize our girls and boys from the home since they are small. What psychologists say is that impressions on babies are formed when they are 18 months old already. They tend to recognize those senses. So it should start from the home, and that is where the state needs to take accountability. Sometimes the separation of the public and the private spheres, and that is what patriarchy does. The state thinks it is not accountable for what happens in the home. But we have shown that domestic violence is a matter of the state. It just cannot be between husband and wife, between mother and daughter, between sons and fathers, or between the family members only. And that is why states need to take responsibility for what is happening. For example, in Nepal itself, and it is very sad, that the state or political parties take no responsibility or accountability for what is happening in their own political parties. Let me just mention you the case of Nirmala Kurmi and Dhobi Nakhuni. They were murdered by a very influential politician in Baque, Nepalganj. Since then, Ruby Khanji has been crusading for justice, and she herself walked for 3 months along with 14 other women from Nepalganj to Kathmandu to seek justice for their murders. Now, this man is still a very influential politician in Baque, and when Ruby Khanji protested against the murder perpetrated by him, Sher Bahadur himself was the Prime Minister, and he signed an agreement with Ruby Khanji to ensure that those that have been murdered get justice. And imagine 1.5 years after that, he gets the ticket to contest the elections, he wins and is made a minister. So in fact, he is rewarded for something that he should have got punished. Of course, he did resign as the Minister of Forest from Lumbini Pradesh, but he has still not been tried. So this case has been going on. Ruby Khanji has been protesting against that case since a long time. Several governments have signed agreements with her. She has staged a hunger strike for 82 days, and still that agreement has not been implemented. So this is what I'm talking about, state apathy, that girls and women do not really matter. Their actions show it.
And how do we go about navigating, making sure that in the future, whatever the past be like, the victims are delivered justice?
Fully loaded question. I don't think the actors and the stakeholders are unaware of these issues. And yet the justice system has been made so complicated, so complex, that one needs evidence to prove that a rape, a sexual violence, a murder has taken place. Now, during COVID-19 in 2021-22, at that time, violence against girls and women escalated. Not only in Nepal, worldwide it escalated. And do you know what the justice system here in Nepal did? They said, since we do not have the wherewithal to deal with cases of sexual violence or sexual murders, we will not deal with them. In simple words, there may be legal jargons, but I'm just breaking this down in simple words. They said, we will not entertain cases of violence against women and girls, period. This is the action of the state. Do you call this responsible? And women were dying, women were vulnerable to violence, women and girls within the four walls of their homes, where you think they will be very safe. That is where they were vulnerable, they were facing violence in and out every day. So that's why I'm saying it's a fully loaded question.
I see your eyes welled up when you talk all these. Are women not treated as human? And when we talk about conditioning men as they grow up, as you mentioned earlier, by 18 months since birth, people can be conditioned into thinking a certain way. But it almost feels like the upper hand that men feel is biologically entrenched somehow.
It is not biological for me, because previously they used to think that biology is destiny, but no longer. We have seen, and this is where feminism and post-feminism comes in, sex, as much as gender, is a social construct. Therefore, it is not biological. And in that sense, what we feel it is natural is actually, these are values constructed by the society. So, do you think cooking, cleaning, looking after the house comes naturally to women? And it has been made natural based on the sex and the values allocated to gender. But actually,
we've been conditioned that way.
Women are not only conditioned, they are made to believe that they were born, to give birth, and not only a birth to children, but a male child, so that the progeny lives on. And also that since they give birth, they nurse, and because they nurse, it has been made natural that they look after the children, look after the household, look after the family, and that is what has prevented them from participating in the public sphere. They don't have much time to participate in decision making or even to engage in processes that influence their lives. And for men, because the women are working in the home, it frees up time for them to go out and make decisions in the public sphere, to make budget allocations on behalf of those who are impacted by them. And therefore women think it is their primary duty, as caregivers, and for men it is their primary duty as breadwinners. And this is the distinction I was talking about that has been made between the private and the public sphere. But today, women straddle both the private and the public sphere. And men do not, they have not changed. It is only, they change when there are economic benefits. For example, women are cooking in the house without any pay, right? They're doing all the work in the house without any pay. And when there is payment, the men are involved. For example, who cooks in 5-star hotels? Or for that matter, anywhere where there is money, it is all the men. Why aren't there more women chefs than men? Because of that public and private divide. First, you look after your home. If you want to venture out, then you pay the reproductive tax. By that I mean that you do everything, complete your housework, and then if there is time, you go out. So that is the reproductive tax, Like we pay the education tax, entertainment tax, we pay tax for having television in our homes, right? So women also have to pay the reproductive tax. And there are very few privileged women who do not have to pay that tax because there are other women who do the household work for them. But as such, it is the women who are looking after the house. And therefore, as a socialist feminist, what I believe in is that unless and until the unpaid household work is not accounted for, women will not be able to progress or achieve as much as men, because the time that they spend in the house eats up all the time. They do not have much time to go out and participate. Maybe they will have just 3 or 4 hours, and that they will go out in the community, the savings and credit groups maybe, or the groups that they have made, and just be limited to that. Yeah? So patriarchy has done a lot of injustice to women, also to men, because what it has done to women is it has limited them to their reproductive functions. They cannot see the world beyond that. And for men, it has imposed a heavy burden on them to provide for the family, even when they are not in a situation to do so. Therefore, the values that have been perpetrated, that have been perpetuated based on patriarchal values is not a just system. And therefore, if we are to have a gender equal society, men must also take responsibility for the family household work as much as women do, so that it frees up time for women to go out and also contribute to the development of the society and the state in general.
Now, while we talk about impunity and lack of accountability on part of government and leaders, how has your observation been about the legal placements when it comes to our country's laws is it protective enough? And of course, the implementation part is always in question.
That is true. There is a huge gap, between policies and implementation. Nepal, over the years, has taken big strides in addressing gender inequality issues. For example, domestic violence, anti-trafficking issues, property rights, women's rights to education, women's rights to health. And you can see all of this in the 2015 Constitution, where articles from 38 to 42 actually secure women's rights. Not only women's rights, also girls' rights, children's rights, older persons' rights, minorities' rights. It has the cornerstone of the Constitution is gender equality, non-discrimination. And therefore, the Constitution as such has been able to ensure those rights. Nevertheless, it falls short of actually spelling out what gender equality means. In spite of ensuring all those issues related to gender equality, the Constitution still falls short in that it still considers women as second-class citizens. A woman is not, or a mother is not able to transfer her rights to citizenship to her children. Of course, there have been several amendments after that, where if a father is not traced or not found, the mother can pass on her citizenship to her children. But then, the law of supremacy, which states that the Constitution is supreme, which does not recognize the full rights or the complete rights of women. Therefore, even though Nepal has made strides by leaps and bounds in relation to women's rights and gender equality, a lot still needs to be done. There are still many gaps between policy and implementation, and although Nepal signed the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, in short CEDAW, in 1990, without any reservations, in practice there is still a lot of discrimination and reservations against women's rights and girls' rights. Now, CEDAW by itself, does not address violence against women. It addresses this through the general recommendations number 19, but that is not binding. The general recommendations are not binding. Well, the CEDAW itself is binding. The articles from 1 to 16, they are all binding. Although it has 22 articles, the others are related to administrative ones. They are binding, but the general recommendations are not binding. Now, you may have also noticed that the Beijing Platform for Action, which was agreed to in Beijing in 1995 at the 4th World Conference on Women, does have one of the 12 critical concerns on violence against women. Now, that declaration is not binding. Legally, if the state does not implement all the 12 critical areas of concern, it cannot be held accountable. It is just the state's will. And we just celebrated the 30 years of Beijing Platform for Action this year. Now, CEDAW is binding, but so far, no state has taken any case to the Security Council of the UN. So this is the case when it comes to women and girls. And that is why what I am advocating, along with other women and organizations of South Asia, is that we need a particular single treaty on violence against women and girls, so that we can make the state accountable. Otherwise, it gets just swept under the carpet.
If such a treaty A global treaty, you mean?
Yes.
Right? Would be formed. Would it be applicable for all the countries? Because the context could be different depending on the nations, right?
Of course, the contexts will be different, and this is what postmodernism focuses on, that you cannot treat everyone universally in the same manner, right? Contexts are different, but in spite of the context, the issues are the same. Violence against women and girls is violence against women and girls, no matter what form it takes. And there are several forms of violence, you know, from psychological to economic to physical, you name it. You know, the forms can be different, but the issue, violence, is still the same. And as I said earlier, I would like to repeat it again, that violence and the fear of violence keeps girls and women from asserting their rights and freedoms. Not only that, it prevents them from accessing resources, for example, education, health, employment, and also it prevents them from participating in the public sphere or participating in public processes that affect them.
Well, legally, our constitution has ensured 33% participation. For us to be able to discuss on the issues that concern us, we will need representation. But there have been token participations.
And that is the whole, I would not like to say it is an issue, it is a problem. It is a mandate or an agenda that we all should be bothered about. You know, 33% is a threshold. If we have 33% reservation, we will have a voice that can be heard. You know, otherwise it becomes a whimper. Like you said, tokenism, 1 or 2 or 3. But 33% is a voice that can be heard, that resounds throughout. And at the local level, we have 40%, right? And that 40% has been able to make a mark. Although there may be just 2% of mayors, but we have 92% deputy mayors who are asserting themselves and are now saying, next time I want to fight for the mayor. You see, so that representation is important, but substance is also important. And that is what CEDAW says, that we must have a number so that that number then is amplified, so that women's issues or gender equality issues are debated, are discussed, and policies are made based on that.
I'm pretty sure in all of these years, you've had your own struggles. I've had my fair share as well, but we too, I think, are privileged enough to have this discourse right here. What about grassroots level women? How do we go about empowering them? How do we practically reach out to all of them so that they are empowered enough to demand for their rights?
I think at the grassroots level, you know, what I feel is that women are more empowered than those who are, you know, living or working in the center. What happens is, at the grassroots level, it's all about the daily lives, right? It is not just about taking part in public events or representing a group. It is about the daily lives. And there I see they are more assertive than women who live in the cities or in the urban areas. There is somehow an image that women at the grassroots level are totally helpless, they are disempowered, they are unaware, but actually they are more aware, they are more empowered. If you go and look at how they live their daily lives, it is not just about the brawn, it is also about the brain. And let me tell you, they are more strategic in how they address or how they deal with their daily lives. They may not have the economic resources. They may not be educated as much as women living in the capital or in urban centers, but they have that innate resources, that resilience, which allows them to assert themselves. And therefore, I think it is not for us to empower them. it is for us to collaborate and cooperate with them. And I think that is what women NGOs, women activists, those who call themselves feminists, and even development agencies are partnering with them. For example, focusing on violence against women and girls, it is for the first time that the European Union has invested 15 million US dollars into a program in collaboration with the UN agencies, and they are focusing at the grassroots level. And this is in fact very, very encouraging, very inspiring, that they are investing this not in the capital but in the suburban areas, in the rural areas where women's lives matter. But it is a project. You know, it is for a certain time, for 5 years. After that, what? Therefore, for us to keep on addressing violence against women and girls issues, we cannot have projects, short-term projects for 5 years and then an extension for another 3 years. This has to continue. Then only the seeds that you have sown, you know, in the first 5 years, then they will start to grow. And for them to grow, you need to nurture it, yeah, like a gardener does, with manure, with water, replenishing the soil. So these things need to be carried on, and that is where the state needs to take responsibility. It cannot depend on foreign aid or foreign charity forever. The state has to take the responsibility. And those of us who identify themselves as feminists have to be constantly focusing on these issues, because feminism is not just about advocating for women's rights and gender equality. It is also a watchdog. And that is where the media also needs to come in, because the media has a huge role to play. And so today I'm so happy, Sarah, that you are focusing on this issue, on this perennial issue that suppresses gender equality issues. And the media, it's not enough that you as a woman are doing it. Men also who are involved in the media, they also need to take up these issues, and other mainstream media also need to address these issues on a regular basis. And it is so significant, Sarah, that today, the 10th of December, Human Rights Day, and where the 16 days of activism that started on November 25th is ending today, that this program is being recorded so that that significance is amplified.
It sounds very encouraging when you present a different narrative when it comes to empowering women. When you say that those in suburban or rural areas are more empowered than us, but what about their awareness about their legal rights and the accessibility towards legal system? What about cases like Nirmala Pant?
Exactly, and that is what I was also going to come up with. The case of Nirmala Pant and many other people like her need sustained focus. Sustained focus. It cannot happen in spurts and fits and spurts, you know. And that is why in the beginning I mentioned Nirbhaya. That case got so much prominence, not only in the hearts of people, but it caught the attention of media. And therefore, that is where I think media played a huge part in also changing the landscape of the Indian law, where capital punishment was introduced. And you know, but then that also took a long time. Yeah. Nirbhaya's case occurred in 2012. Those 4 men were executed in 2020. So it took 8 years, you know, for justice to be finally established. And therefore, with Nirmala Pant and many other unfortunate sisters like her, we need to have continued, sustained focus so that It just doesn't happen when a Ruby Khan protests, when a Renu Adhikar stages a 2012 Balwatar Occupy movement, or when somebody who is impacted by this, goes to meet a minister or a prime minister. And that is why these cases need to be addressed or need to be brought to the attention of the state, of the society, of the families on a continued basis. And that is the only way I think we can secure justice. It is like a water that is dripping on a rock, and after many years it does make an impression on that rock, right? So because women and girls issues are negligible, that is why we needed a treaty like CEDAW that said it is not just political rights of women, it is not just economic rights of women, it is their social rights as well as legal rights, and all of these rights are important and they must happen at once. And therefore CEDAW does not follow a generation of human rights, it says, okay, first you will have political rights, then you can have economic rights, then you can have social rights, then you can have rights to development. No, CEDAW says that all of these rights are important for women and they must take place and they must be addressed at the same time simultaneously.
Right. Violence, of course, over the course of time has taken a lot of new forms. In the latest years, we've seen a lot of digital violence as well. When we are trying to fight for already existing forms of violence, this is a new thing that we're experiencing. This new challenge, how do we deal with it?
Indeed, Sarah, it is so complex and it is so challenging that it goes beyond just a physical space. It transcends the mind. Now AI has been able to do things that we did not imagine. It can take a person, and make it speak or make it do as though you did it yourself, really. And this is happening in the virtual world. So it is so scary. It is so daunting just thinking of it. Also, I get goosebumps, because you may not have said that, but somebody will take an AI and say, you did it. And therefore, there's so much of this fake, not just fake news, but fake events also happening that is beyond your capability or beyond your reach. And violence has been amplified or magnified 1,000 times more than it could have happened physically. And you won't even know that it is happening to you unless somebody points it out to you. And it is so fast that it reaches an audience, trillion times more than a television or a radio or a newspaper would reach through the social media. And people then believe it. And once that belief has settled in, once that image has been established, it becomes virtually impossible for you to decimate it. And therefore, this is where, again, parents, individuals, communities, markets, and the state, we all have to work together to address this menace. And I call it a menace because the virtual world out there is capable of doing things which the human mind cannot.
What do you think the government must do step by step to ensure that there's no violence against women, human?
Sarah, what should be done, what should not be done, those are not things that we need to be discussed. You asked me about my 70 years of experience, right? We have been advocating that the government should do this, the government should do that, but has it done? It has not. Let us ask ourselves what we should do to make the government act, right? Because governments change and the leadership matters. Therefore, what I think is we need to work with political parties from the beginning, not just when they are writing or drafting their election manifesto. You know, women and men who are in political parties need to be sensitized, because again, this is all about power. It's all about power relations. Why governments want to come into power? Because they can make decisions. You know, they hold that power to act, to be able to enact legislation, to be able to formulate and implement policies, right? Therefore, at the individual level and at the community level, by community I mean our communities of gender equality advocates, we need to, I wouldn't say unite, because I think unity among gender equality advocates is not a thing that can be easily achieved, because everyone has their own thinking, everyone has their own ideology. Therefore, gender equality advocates need to collaborate, cooperate with political parties, so that when political parties come to power, we have already set the agenda for them, you know, in implementing gender equality issues. It cannot be an afterthought. It cannot be, you know, add and stir. You know, like you add sugar in the tea, you stir, it becomes sweet. No, it's not that. We have to work with them right from the beginning. Because, see, we've had so many governments, and as I told you, you know, 5 different governments have signed this agreement with Ruby Khan. What is the result? Zills, right? Therefore, we have to be able to collaborate, to cooperate with all the actors and stakeholders. By actors and stakeholders, I mean media is a very important part of that. Therefore, what the government should do, what the government should not do is not a case in point. It is how we, you know, as constituents can goad the government, can force the government to act.
What about women? Because oftentimes I see women carrying misogynistic practices as well, handing over it to others in the workplaces and even at homes. What should women do to ensure gender equality?
Yes, Sarah, you have raised, I think, a very, very critical point. You know, just by virtue of being a woman doesn't mean you are gender sensitive, right? In fact, today, women are the most powerful vehicle of perpetuating patriarchy. Because it is, without the women, this world would not exist, or this world would not be able to function. So women have internalized all those patriarchal values, and men are so magnanimous. Oh, it is not me, you know, it is the women who are doing it. And even there is a very interesting advertisement related to menopause, which is based on real facts again. I'm not trying to disregard it. But then that advertisement on menopause shows a father who is not comfortable in the daughter observing the menopause practices of untouchability. The mother is insisting that she observe untouchability during menopause, and the father says, no, 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 it does not need to be done. In a way, they are showing that males are also change makers, you know. But for women to be change makers, this awareness, that's why I'm saying this awareness needs to be there right from the beginning. Of course, I've seen women in parliament, you know, who could not be bothered about legislating gender equality policies or gender equality legislation. They're not bothered. They are there, I'm not saying all of them, but the majority of them are there because of the blessings of the male leaders, and therefore they carry out the wishes and orders of the male leaders, and they are not at all concerned or even committed to gender equality issues. Therefore, it is not just the men, it is the women at large also who are responsible for this. And therefore, I don't blame them, they're all the products of patriarchal values. So I'm not blaming them, I'm not deriding them, but what we need to do is also work with them. And that is why we need to work, again I stress, we need to work with political parties.
This issue has so many facets that we can discuss about. I hope we can continue this discourse in coming days or years as well. Thank you so much for being on NTV World Inside.
Thank you, Sarah. I have really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I'm so happy to know that there are so many dedicated women in Nepal television who are committed to gender equality issues, and I wish you the best, and I hope that we can, of course, continue this conversation in the future as well. Thank you and namaste.
Well, as we wrap up this discussion, it is important to acknowledge that conversations about violence against women are not one-off events. They are part of an ongoing effort to understand the realities women face, to question the systems that allow harm to persist, and to imagine something better. The numbers we discussed today are uncomfortable, but they're also necessary, because change begins with clarity. Our hope is that discussions like these help carve out space for more honesty, more accountability, and more collective responsibility. Thank you for being with us on the show and for staying engaged in a long, unfinished conversation about what a just world should look like. Until next time.
These hills and valleys are witnesses to change. They hold countless dreams and the aspirations of a prosperous nation. Beneath their natural beauty lies a deeper reality, a true portrait of life. Here, the geography is visible, but the emotions are heard. Our effort is to bring closer the landscape and sentiments of Rukum West, a region filled with dreams, possibilities and determination. Since the Mid-Hill Highway connected Rukum, it has played a vital role in local development. It has helped market local produce, boosted livelihoods and employment, and promoted the region's stunning nature, languages, arts and culture. Many older residents never imagined a road passing near their homes or ever riding in a vehicle. Now, as cars glide smoothly over these hills and ridges, their joy is unmistakable. As we pass through the villages of Rukum, we encounter countless stories of hope and trust. Signs of development are increasingly visible at the local level. Vehicles now travel on blacktop roads, and improved access to technology has made rural life more dynamic. Whether it is Sankha in Musikot municipality or Rimna Dobhan in Sani Bheri rural municipality, these communities not only reflect the natural beauty of Rukum West, but also narrate inspiring stories of transformation. Rukum is a district shaped by a decade-long armed conflict. During those years, it stood at the center of national attention. Yet after the peace process, its development trajectory has steadily risen. Improvements in roads, political awareness, education and healthcare have all played crucial role in this progress. In the remote terrains, the natural beauty is inseparable from the faces of the people who live here. Expressions of longing, eyes searching for their children, and the countless struggles behind their simple dreams all resonate deeply. Despite stories of positive change, the migration of many young people abroad remains a pressing concern. A district rich in nature and culture now faces the challenge of a shrinking youth population, which limits its potential for prosperity. Traveling this road, crossing rivers, climbing hills, and enjoying the northern Himalayan views is a unique experience. From the lowlands of Jorjahari, along the banks of Bheri River, through Ramni Dobhan to the district headquarters in Khalanga, and onward through the scenic settlement of Sanka into eastern Rukum, the journey is breathtaking. Yet, this land is still searching for its youth so that its beauty can be tied to prosperity. Here in this rugged terrain, the reality is visible and the emotions you hear are true. US President Donald Trump has announced what he calls a permanent pause on migration from several developing nations, describing them with a derogatory language, including Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and others. In a pointed remark, Trump insisted he did not use the derogatory language in response to questions about his language. The President says the new restriction prioritizes migrants who he claims share American values, contribute to the economy, and assimilate into society. Those who do not, he said, we don't want in our country. Trump also asserted that the U.S. is seeing reverse migration for the first time in 50 years, a trend he argues in driving higher wages and more jobs for Americans, not for what he called illegal aliens. The announcement underscores how immigration remains one of the most diverse issues in American politics and a defining battleground ahead of the next election. In Gaza City, civil defense teams are entering their second day of work to recover the bodies of 400 Palestinians buried in the courtyard of the Al-Shifa Medical Complex, one of the hardest hit sites during the Israeli military operations. Authorities say medical staff were forced to temporarily bury the dead inside the hospital compound during the weeks-long siege when movement outside the facility was impossible. The recovered bodies are now being transferred to permanent cemeteries, allowing families to carry out proper burials months after the initial fighting. Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, has become a stark symbol of the humanitarian toll of the conflict, with widespread destruction and accusations over its use during wartime.
The recovery effort highlights how Gaza's humanitarian crisis continues long after the battles, with families still searching for closure. The United Nations says around 200,000 people have fled their homes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo after the M23 rebel group launched a new offensive backed, according to the UN, by neighboring Rwanda. Local officials report the rebels have pushed into the outskirts of Uvira, a strategically crucial city in South Kivu province, just days after a U.S. brokered peace effort in Washington. At least 74 people have been killed and several military positions have fallen. The peace agreement signed last week obliges Rwanda to halt all support to armed groups, but the rebels themselves were not part of the accord. Both Kinshasa and Kigali accuse each other of violating previous ceasefires, and the rapid advances by M23 are now seen as a major setback to diplomatic progress. The renewed violence shows how fragile Eastern Congo's peace process remains, with civilians once again paying the highest price. Mongolia has successfully recovered 29 sets of dinosaur fossils illegally taken from the country more than a decade ago and seized by French authorities. The fossils, dating back 65 to 70 million years, include vertebrae, claws, eggs, and near-complete remains of Tarbosaurus, theropods, and other species native to the Gobi Desert. The handover followed a decade-long legal battle, culminating in a ruling by the Court of Appeal of Lyon in June 2025, ordering the fossils' return. Officials from both governments attended a ceremony this week formalizing the transfer. Experts say the fossils include rare and scientifically valuable specimens, including of Raptorosaur eggs and theropod skeletal structures that offer insight into late Cretaceous ecosystems. The case highlights the growing global effort to combat fossil trafficking and return scientific heritage to its countries of origin. In Australia, iconic landmarks across all states and territories, including the Sydney Harbour Bridge, have been lit up in green and gold tonight to mark the launch of the country's world-first social media safety laws for children. The light-up began at 8 p.m. AEDT, with bridges, towers, and public buildings taking part in a nationwide display. The new laws have drawn international attention as governments worldwide search for models to curb harmful content and protect minors online. Authorities say the legislation aims to hold tech companies more accountable while giving parents greater control over how children use digital platforms. Australia's move could set a global precedent as nations grapple with how to protect young people in the age of algorithmic influence. China's Shenzhou 21 astronauts have completed their mission's first extravehicular activities, spending more than 8 hours outside the country's orbiting space station, according to the China Manned Space Agency. Commander Zhang Lu, along with astronauts Wu Fei and Zhang Hongzhang, carried out inspections, replaced thermal control components, and installed new debris shielding units with help from the station's robotic arm. The team also photographed damage to the Shenzhou 20 return capsule, where tiny cracks were found, likely caused by space debris. Because of the damage, the Shenzhou 20 craft was deemed unsafe for re-entry and has remained in orbit. The astronauts will instead return aboard Shenzhou 22, launched last month as a dedicated replacement vessel. As China expands its space presence, the mission underscores both the risk of orbital debris and Beijing's long-term ambitions in human spaceflight. Thousands of evacuated villagers in Cambodia's Siem Reap province are now taking refuge under makeshift tents after fresh clashes erupted along the country's border with Thailand. The fighting part of a century-old territorial dispute over sections of land near the historic Priyavahia temple has intensified in recent days, forcing the evacuation of nearly 500,000 people on both sides of the frontier. Families in Cambodia's Srei Snam district say they fled with little warning as artillery exchanges echoed across the border. Conditions inside temporary shelters remains harsh, with limited access to food, sanitation, and medical care. Both governments have called for calm, but military patrols have increased, raising fears the standoff could escalate. Renewed clashes underscore how unresolved borders in Southeast Asia remains flashpoints, where civilians often pay the highest price. Indonesians in the Aceh Tamiang region of Aceh province are still struggling with severe fuel shortages and limited access to electricity and clean drinking water 2 weeks after massive floods swept across 3 provinces. The flooding, triggered by days of relentless monsoon rains, submerged entire villages, displaced thousands of residents, and cut off key transport routes, slowing relief efforts. Local authorities say fuel deliveries remain inconsistent, leaving many communities dependent on generators that they can't afford to run. Clean water supplies are also dwindling, raising concerns about waterborne diseases as families continue living in temporary shelters. National disaster teams are on the ground, but the scale of the damage means recovery is expected to take weeks, if not months. The crisis is a stark reminder that climate-driven disasters are hitting vulnerable communities the hardest, and recovery often lags long after the floodwaters recede. International trade in elephant ivory has been banned for decades, but Japan still maintains one of the world's largest legal domestic ivory markets, where sales are allowed as long as the products never leave the country. In Tokyo's upscale Ginza district, antiques dealer Hajime Sasaki showcases intricately carved ivory pieces, arguing that existing tusks should be sold rather than destroyed. He is part of a small but vocal community of traders who say the domestic market is tightly regulated and should remain open. But conservation groups insist that any legal ivory trade, even a domestic one, fuels global demand and creates loopholes for illegal trafficking. With African elephant populations under continued pressure from poaching, Japan faces growing international calls to phase out the trade entirely. As wildlife declines worldwide, Japan's stance on ivory highlights the tension between cultural tradition, commercial interests, and global conservation efforts. Microsoft has announced plans to invest a massive $17.5 billion to accelerate the build-out of India's artificial intelligence infrastructure. A move CEO Satya Nadella says is their largest investment in Asia. Nadella revealed the decision on social media shortly after meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi, where discussions centered on expanding cloud capacity, AI compute, and digital skilling across India's rapidly growing tech sector. The investment comes as India positions itself as a major global AI hub, competing with the US and China for talent, data capability, and next-generation innovation. Microsoft's move is expected to boost the country's AI ecosystem, support domestic startups, and deepen US-India technology ties. With AI reshaping global power balances, India's partnership with major tech players mark a strategic shift toward becoming one of the world's key digital heavyweights.
सदा भवानी दाहिन रे सदा भवानी दाहिन रे सिद्धन
The Tharu folk literature and folk cultural heritages reflect the prehistoric human civilization to the modern-day Tharu civilization. To minority in their native land. Nonetheless, they were successful in retaining and conserving their cultural heritage that originated in the soils of Western Plains. The lifelong folk dance, traditions and festivities are the examples of their cultural preservation. The Tharus have successfully kept alive traditional practices, spirit, mutual unity and harmony, which are an eminent part of their lives today as well.
Tharus are the indigenous tribes of this place. We have our own typical cultural norms and values, including our own music and culture. Starting from the monsoon season, Tharus rejoice in their own cultural festivals that have their own traditional music. Agriculture is our main occupation, and we are known as hard-working people. Nepal is very rich in cultural diversity, but Tharu culture has its own uniqueness. I believe preserving Tharu culture could be a boon in developing tourism as well in this region. However, it is very important to preserve and promote Tharu culture, especially among the youths. Proper planning and programs to preserve and promote Tharu culture from the government We normally play the role of a facilitator in mediating whenever there are disputes among people of our community. The Matau or the local chief has to take the lead whenever there are accidents like death in our community. Sometimes there are disputes between people of different villages. The Matau needs to take the lead in settling them as well, almost like a judge. On cases of land proportion division to Kamayas or the bonded leverers, people can give their opinion, but the final decision is taken by the Matau. In marriages also, the witness has to be the Matau. Later, if the couple has any problems, the Matau needs to be the one to settle their dispute.
The village senior or Agua, on the instruction of Mahatwa, asks all the villagers to be present at Mahatwa's residence on the eve of Maghi. Khyala is the village council of Tharus, where every decision is taken in consensus of all sides. Tharus share a close bonding with nature, and their folk life exemplifies this connection. During the Maghi, they reach the jungles to pick the leaves and collect timber before dawn. Some go for fishing, as fish is the speciality of Tharu dishes. The male members of the community come together for preparing pork meat. While the Tharu women get busy in cooking delicious dishes like tikri and making alcohol at home. This kind of cultural activities is not only a necessity, but also a higher degree of practice of unity and teamwork within a village. Songs can be heard playing in the background. Water-filled pots or kalash are placed by villagers on either sides of the road as a gesture of extending greetings, while these footsteps return towards villages from rivers to the tunes of the music. Sprinkling the holy water of kalash, a group of elderly reach the home of Mahatwa to extend greetings and for Maghi assembly. They take a seat after greeting him. Gardhuria, or the households, elect the new leader on this very day. The assembly concludes after reviewing the overall activities of the previous year and chalking out the new plans for the new year. This is followed by feast and dance. Women perform the traditional Tharu dance of Maghauta. Maghi is soon followed by another festival, Hori, that falls on the Nepali month of Fagun around February and March. This festival is celebrated by the Tharus ritualistically. Among the various rituals, the ritual of sparking fire after rubbing timber of Ganyari species reflects their primitiveness. The holy fire is using for lighting ablaze the pole. The fire used for lighting the pole is taken to home by every Gardhurya and kept safely. The same fire is used for cooking the food throughout the year. Fag, that is sung marking this occasion, has lusty lines. In the ancient times, it was called Madan Utsov, or festivity of lust or passion. Hence, the month of Fagun in the Nepali lunar calendar is a wedding month for the Tharus. Following the agreement by the family of the girl and the boy for their marriage, Tekoni, a ritual of give.
बद्रीबा तर धरतीबा एक बित लौट बानी करबे ना
On the wedding day, Diuli Darna, a special ritual is marked at the bridegroom's home. The Mahatwa robes a scarf on his head, which is called Pagya. The groom takes out Barchi from his native worship place, Duhar. Taking the Barchi is a symbol of war culture for the bride. While heading to the bride's home, the groom is offered sweet delicacies by his neighbors. The groom then sits on a dola, a wooden carrier, and reaches the bride's home. The bride's mother welcomes the groom with kalash on her hands and circumambulates the groom thrice. The sister-in-laws wash the feet of the groom. The wedding guests from the groom's side enjoy the feast. Tears well in the eyes of bride as she is bidden farewell by her family members. The bride is then carried on the dola to the groom's house. Bhojinya sprinkles rice grains on the yard. A pot full of fire is placed in front of the bride and groom. First the groom, then the bride steps on the fire and reach the duhar. Folk belief has it that stepping on the fire by the newlyweds means accepting each other, keeping the god of fire as a witness. The sisters of the groom then take certain amount as a gift and clear the way for the newlyweds. Bhojinya then receives them and collides groom's head with the bride's. Then she asks the bride to oil massage the groom's feet. After the feast, the celebration continues amid singing and dancing. performing traditional chokra and jhumra dance.
विशेषतः पश्चिम नेपालको थारू समुदायमा धेरैजसो
The culturally rich Tharu community of Western Nepal is backward in social and economic fronts. The government must come up with concrete programs to promote Tharu culture right from the local level to the international level. This can be a medium for the social and economic upliftment of the Tharu people. We have launched a campaign to preserve the cultural heritages of Tharu community in Dang, Bake, Bardia, Kailali, Kanchanpur and Surkhet districts.
The Nepali month of Chaitra and Baisakh, or the spring season, is the season of going to the jungles for collecting timber and fodder. The men and women together go to the jungles. They sing Sajana Maina Tharu folk songs while picking leaves or collecting timber. The word Sajana comes from the Hindi language and indicates the folk song has high amount of love and passion, while Maina is the folk song in which the lovers or a girl expresses her inner feelings, symbolizing the bird Maina as a medium. All in all, this is a painting filled with Tharu folk philosophy. Dasai, or the Dashya, is the other important festival of the Tharus. The Tharus have a tradition of holding special worships for the deceased ancestors during this festival. The wife of the Mahatwa prepares a special kind of delicacy, dhikri, for offering it as a prasad or offering to the deceased ancestors. The Mahatwa at the worship place of his residence, Dewhar, offer these special delicacies to the deceased ancestors and the clan of gods and goddesses. After offering all these delicacies, the Dewhar room has to be left in silence. The sacrifice of a wax gourd is taken as an alternative. Men, women and youths assemble at the residence of Mahatwa in Dasai to receive tika, blessings and exchange greetings. Tharus have a tradition of putting on a white tika, and it is taken as a practice that began when colors were not created and as a symbol of peace. There is a culture of performing Sakya and Paya dance from Krishnastami to Dasai in the Tharu culture. In the Sakya dance, the male members playing the madal play the role of Krishna, while the female dancers role play Radha. Therefore, this dance is performed in two forms, Giti along with a song and Agiti without a song. This dance is performed in 22 musical beats. However, these beats are now on the verge of extinction.
Demonstrative art is an integral part of folk Tharu culture. Sakya and Paiya folk dances performed during Dasai festival are some examples. It is believed that these folk dances have up to 22 different beats. However, today we hardly find musicians and dancers who can play or perform all these 22 different beats. Only limited beats are performed these days. This demands further research and preservation efforts. Likewise, the Tharu folk literature is equally rich in romanticism. They are found in abundance in Tharu folklores and songs.
The main occupation of Tharu is agriculture. They enjoy in the fields and prefer to toil there. They seek the base of their livelihood through agriculture. They are pursuing their life ahead by being close to the nature. The Tharus believe in traditional values, hence believe the Barka dance should be performed if natural disasters occur. The Mahatawa for the same calls village assembly or Khyala. The Barka dance is organized as per the decision of the Khyala. The Barka, that is a folk musical Tharu drama with Tharu folk philosophies, starts with pious steps of various gods and goddesses and concludes with a sequence of Kurukshetra war from the Mahabharata epic and the ascent to heaven. At the end of the dance, the dancers in guise of 5 Pandavas and Draupadi hide their weapons under the Shami tree, which is believed is a depiction of Pandavas going to the Virat kingdom during their incognito stay or the Agyatbas. As per the Tharu folk belief, keeping the akshata used in this dance with oneself will protect one from evil eyes and spirits and helps in curing various illnesses. There is a local belief that touching the bamboo pole that is a symbol of Shiva Lingam or the phallic symbol of Hindu god Shiva relieves oneself from various physical pains. The Tharu culture that is based on self-identity is at present on the verge of extinction. A generation gap is developing between the older and the younger Tharu generation. Changes are but natural. However, extinction of intangible cultural elements means loss of existence of self-identity, to which community concerned should be sensitive.
intermittent playing hide and seek with the folk, enchanting one's heart with the sight of fully bloomed rhododendrons, and rejoicing in the lap of nature with the chirping of the birds. When you set foot in Sandakpur, you experience a wonderful feeling of heavenly bliss right here on earth. Due to the ever-changing weather and the snow-white mountains visible right in front of your eyes, Sandakpur constantly draws everyone's heart towards it. As a habitat for numerous species of birds and endangered wildlife, Sandakpur always leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all. Situated at an altitude of 3,636 meters above the sea level, Sandakpur is located at Ward 2 and 4 of Sandakpur Rural Municipality in Nepal's eastern Ilam district. Embracing the mountains of Nepal, India and Bhutan, Sandakpur is the only place in South Asia where one can observe the Himalayas of all three countries. While enjoying the Himalayan settlements, one can observe the sunrise and sunset from Sandakpur. It is the only place in Nepal from where over 60 mountain peaks
Nepal government signs agreement with Gen Z groups, pledges transparency and anti-corruption measures. 100 political parties submit applications for Nepal's proportional election system, commissioned to review and approve applications ahead of March 5 polls. Nepal observes International Human Rights Day. Country faces scrutiny as human rights concerns emerge over recent protests. Nepal repatriates 47 nationals involved in online scams and illegal gambling in Thailand. Embassy urges citizens to seek only legal overseas employment. Storm Byron threatens Gaza. Flash floods, strong winds and hail put displaced families at risk. And Lumbini Lions beat Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets in NPL Eliminator to face off Biratnagar Kings in Qualifier 2. Hello there, I'm Smritu Giseng Tamang and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 Nepal time. Now the news in detail. The government of Nepal has committed to recognizing the Gen Z movement and investigating human rights abuses and violence independently. The government made this commitment in its agreement signed with the representatives of various Gen Z organizations this evening in Singapore. The government and Gen Z representatives later this evening signed a 10-point agreement at the office of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Sushila Karki and Boj Bikram Thapa, on behalf of those who attained martyrdom and were injured during the Gen Z movement, signed the pact. The agreement signals a major move towards transparency, accountability and inclusive governance as promised by this interim government, which was formed after anti-corruption movement in Nepal in September. The agreement also addresses corruption, banning partisan appointments, auditing officials' assets and creating a high-level anti-corruption commission. Likewise, the government has promised that the elections are promised to be free, fair and free environment.
The Election Commission of Nepal has received applications from 100 political parties for the proportional representation system in the upcoming House of Representatives election. Some parties applied for a joint election symbol, while others chose a single symbol. The Commission will review the applications and aims to approve them by December 12. The closed list for proportional representation is set for submission on December 28 and 29, with the preliminary list released on January 19. After scrutiny and objections, the final list will be published on February 3. Out of 275 seats, 165 will be filled through direct elections and 110 through proportional representation. Prime Minister Sushila Karki has identified corruption as a major bottleneck to development and transformation in recent years. The Prime Minister noted that corruption transcends economic implications, posing a serious threat to the fundamental rights of vulnerable, powerless and marginalized groups. The Prime Minister said this in her address to an event organized by the National Human Rights Commission NHRC in marking the International Human Rights Day and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
The soul of democracy is a well-thought and fair election. It is the fundamental duty of the state to ensure an environment where citizens can choose their representatives without temptation or pressure. The government is working to make the election more effective, transparent and technology-friendly. Everyone is supporting the government of Nepal to ensure that the election is completed on time. Likewise, the government will ensure an environment that keeps the morale of the staff involved in the election high. While ensuring the voting rights of all Nepalese, I request all political parties to participate freely and to help uphold, protect and promote human rights by making the democratic institutions of elections successful.
The Embassy of Nepal in Bangkok has repatriated 47 Nepali nationals involved in illegal activities, including online gambling, scams and illegal casinos. The individuals from 26 districts across Nepal were identified and detained with the help of Thai authorities and returned safely to Nepal via Nepal Airlines on Wednesday. The embassy warned Nepali citizens to be cautious when seeking work abroad and to pursue only legal and verified opportunities. This operation highlights ongoing cooperation between Nepal and Thailand in combating cross-border crime and protecting citizens from illegal activities. Gaza is bracing for Storm Byron as flash floods, strong winds and hail are forecast across the region, including the West Bank, from today until Friday evening, according to the Palestinian Meteorological Department. Authorities in Gaza have warned that hundreds of thousands of displaced people living in flimsy tents are at high risk. The government media office highlighted the vulnerability of families who have already faced conflict and hardship. In the Zeton neighborhood of Gaza City, displaced residents assessed damage after rainwater flooded their tents. The approaching storm poses severe challenges for Gaza's displaced families, exposing them to dangerous conditions with limited shelter and resources. Lions have stormed into Qualifier 2 of the Nepal Premier League 2025, defeating Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets at the TU International Cricket Ground today. Chasing 112, Lumbini Lions reached the target in 17.4 hours, led by Darcy Short's 33 and contributions from Sandeep Zora, Captain Rohit Paudel and Niroshan Dikvela. For Kathmandu, Santosh Yadav top scored with 23, but the team was bundled out for 111. Lumbini's Sher Malla starred with 3 wickets for 22 runs, earning player of the match, supported by Rohit Paudel and Ruben Truppelman. Tomorrow, Lumbini will face Viratnagar Kings in Qualifier 2. The winner will meet Sudur Paschim Kings, who advanced to the final after defeating Viratnagar in Qualifier 1. The final is this Saturday at the same ground. Nepal wraps up the 16 days of activism with a call to address the rising threat of digital violence against women, highlighting urgent needs for stronger protections and awareness. Meanwhile, a new national mental health campaign launches, focusing on youth and suicide prevention. More on this in our issue of the day. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Nepal today concluded the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence with renewed calls from rights advocates and experts to urgently address the fast-growing threat of digital abuse targeting women and girls. This year's UN theme, Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls, resonated strongly across the country, where online harassment, misinformation and cyberstalking have been steadily increasing. Nepal has formally observed the 16 days of activism since 1987, yet incidents of gender-based violence remain widespread. Advocates now warn that the digital sphere, once viewed as an empowering space, has become a new frontier for exploitation. They highlight that stronger legal protections, improved digital literacy and broader awareness are essential to protecting women both online and offline. UN Women reports that 1 in 3 women worldwide has experienced violence at least once in her life. Behind this figure lies a pattern of abuse that cuts across borders, ages and communities. We break down the numbers, revealing where the risks are highest, what the trends show, and why urgent action is needed. Sarah Sapsanamarai brings a closer look.
It starts with a message, a threat for a stranger who knows your daily routine, or the shock of discovering your face has been digitally altered into explicit content. This is technology-facilitated gender-based violence, a surge of abuse that uses digital tools to inflict physical, sexual and psychological harm. Globally, between 16 and 58% of women have experienced it. In the Arab states, 60% of women internet users are victims of violence in the online space. In Eastern Europe and Central Asia, that figure is above 50%. In sub-Saharan Africa, a study of 5 countries found 28% of women had experienced online violence. And in Europe and the USA, nearly 1 in 4 women report online abuse. The most common forms are sexual harassment and stalking, carried out through unwanted messages, social media posts, and tracking via GPS and applications. But the list of abuse is long and severe, from cyberbullying, hate speech, and doxing to intimate image abuse, sextortion, and deepfake exploitation. While all women are at risk, some face greater danger. 58% of girls and young women have experienced online harassment. Women of color, women with disabilities, and LGBTIQ+ individuals are also at higher risk. Women in public life are targeted to silence them. 73% of women journalists have experienced online violence, and 1 in 3 women parliamentarians in Asia Pacific have faced online attacks. UN Women warns this surge is driven by a growing backlash against women's rights, the rapid rise of artificial intelligence, and the expansion of misogynistic manosphere.
The government has launched a 3-month mental health awareness campaign from December 10 to March 14 under the slogan Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Nurses and local health workers will conduct programs in schools focusing on children aged 6 to 18, as 18% of school-aged children in Nepal face mental issues. Health Minister Sudha Sharma Gautam highlighted the importance of access to mental health treatments at the inauguration program today. With 1 in 10 people affected and 7,055 suicides reported last year, the government has also introduced the 1166 National Suicide Prevention Helpline to support individuals in crisis. On International Human Rights Day, Nepal reflects on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights while grappling with criticism over its response to last month's youth-led protest. PM Sushila Karki calls out corruption as a major threat to vulnerable communities. We discuss on this more in our cover story at the other side of a short break. Nepal marks International Human Rights Day today, commemorating the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 10, 1948. This year's theme is Human Rights Are Everyday Essentials. The UDHR is the most translated document globally, available in 577 languages. In Nepal, the day was observed amid scrutiny over last month's youth-led demonstrations. Addressing an event by the National Human Rights Commission, Prime Minister Sushila Karki highlighted corruption as a major barrier to development, emphasizing its threat to the rights of vulnerable and marginalized groups. As the world marks International Human Rights Day, Nepal faces renewed scrutiny over its handling of last month's youth-led demonstrations. Experts questioned the inaction of the government over what they said, the moment that has put the country's human rights record under close observation. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
Since restoration of democracy, Nepal has always enjoyed mid-position in the global human rights reports derived by various independent organizations. Country's position in upholding human rights is derived from various factors, including the quality of life, safety and security from the state and empowerment, among others. Of late, global attention has been drawn as rights groups, national institutions and observers use the occasion of Human Rights Day to question the government's conduct during and after the Gen Z-led movement. Human rights watchdog Amnesty International has sharply criticized government's response to the protests. Amnesty International Nepal said, regardless of rank or position, anyone involved must be held accountable through a fair and transparent process.
We have found through our research that the government security forces deployed unnecessary, excessive and unwarranted force onto the protesters on the 8th of September, which ultimately led to the killing of 19 protesters and injury. There were more than 300 injured people. That led to the 24th arson and vandalism, and the violence that subsequently followed was a result of the 8th of September. We particularly looked into the 8th of September incident because the state was directly involved in that, and it was the state's commission. So the state using force and killing 19 people means the state was depriving the right to life of 19 people, while these people were ostensibly exercising their right to peaceful freedom of expression.
National Human Rights Commission has also issued strong statement on the handling of the protest and the inaction then after. The Commission said it has already clarified its standpoint and recommended the government of the actions to be taken.
Times change and our ways of moving forward must change as well. We have urged the government to seriously address the questions raised during the Gen Z movement. The government failed to assess how far the protest would escalate, and it could not gauge the level of dissatisfactions among the youth. This shows a lack of foresight. We have also advised the government to address the root causes behind the movement. If this is ignored, similar situation will arise in the future. Yes, there may have been violent incident during the demonstrations, but that should not be the only lens through which the protests are viewed.
According to the Commission, a committee has been formed to investigate the violation of human rights on that day. Prime Minister Sushila Karki, meanwhile, has said formulation of laws required for the safety and identity of human rights defenders, initiative to make foreign employment safe and dignified, and preparation and implementation of the 6th Human Rights Plan of Action are the key priorities of the incumbent government.
I urge you all to protect, promote and practice human rights.
On this Human Rights Day, many questions remain unanswered though. How actively is the government addressing individual incidents of human rights violation? Are the families of the deceased and injured receiving adequate support? Can citizens feel secure while exercising their fundamental rights? And will accountability and transparency truly be ensured in the days ahead? Reported by Sabika Shrestha for NTV World with camera person Rasila Shrestha.
Human rights are a fundamental part of Nepal's constitution, with key provisions guaranteeing dignity, justice and constitutional remedies for its citizens. While Nepal has made strides in protecting these rights, with institutions like National Human Rights Commission playing a vital role, the country still faces criticism for its human rights record, particularly in the aftermath of the Maoist conflict and recent protests. Virat Anupam delves deeper into Nepal's human rights journey and the challenges that remain.
Human rights is not just a personal issue. It is a provision enshrined in every constitution. In Nepal, among the 31 fundamental rights enshrined in the constitution, many of them are related to human rights. For instance, Article 16 provisions right to live with dignity, Article 20 is rights relating to justice, and Article 46 mentions rights to constitutional remedies. Nepal has dedicated constitutional commissions of human rights. National Human Rights Commission, established in 2000, is Nepal's institutional and constitutional pillar to uphold and promote human rights. Though run by commissioners appointed by the government, the commission largely functions as an independent constitutional body. The Human Rights Watchdog has time and again issued directives against the government, drawing its attention towards its apathy in upholding human rights. Nepal is party to the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. When it comes to freedom, which is part of the human rights, Nepal is far ahead of its South Asian peers. Based on Human Freedom Index of 2022, Nepal's score is 6.9, which is ahead of Bhutan's 6.7, India's 6.26 and Sri Lanka's 6.11. Two South Asian nations, Bangladesh and Pakistan, have below 6 score. Bangladesh has 5.52 score and Pakistan has 5.4. Nepal is not in good track in human rights every time. The latest issue appeared in the September protest when the government is accused of using unlawful force by US-based Human Rights Watch. Nepal is internationally accused of having impunity for Maoist conflict-era human rights violation issue from 1996 to 2006. NTV World compilation by Virat Anupam.
The Election Commission is reviewing polling centres across the country for voter convenience, with 85 days to go until the House of Representatives election. Voter lists will be cross-checked and missing details updated. As the review continues until December 12, the Commission has received applications from 100 political parties for the proportional representation system, with parties applying for single or joint election symbols. With election preparations in full swing across the country, we asked the public how excited are they for the upcoming election. Let's view their concern in our Public Pulse segment today.
किन भन्दाखेरि लोकतन्त्रको निकास नै चुनावबाट हुने हो, मतदानबाट हुने भएको भएर अनि अहिलेको अवस्था त फरक छ है। अब त्यत्रो जनप्रिय आन्दोलन भइसकेपछि नयाँ म्यान्डेट, नयाँ रिफर्मको लागि पार्टीभित्रको रिफर्म लगायत देशभित्रको रिफर्म खोजिरहँदा यो चुनावले चाहिँ त्यो खालको निकास दिने भएर चाहिँ म लगायत हाम्रो सम्पूर्ण समुदाय, सम्पूर्ण साथीहरू पनि एकदम धेरै एक्साइटेड छौँ।
फागुन 21 गते जुन निर्वाचन हुने नयाँ सरकारले घोषणा गरेको छ, सरकार बनेकै त्यही निर्वाचन गर्नका लागि मुख्य काममा निर्वाचन गर्ने भनिएको छ। राजनीतिक दलहरूले पनि त्यो निर्वाचनलाई लक्षित गरेर आफ्ना अधिवेशनहरू गर्ने कामहरू गरिरहनु भएको छ भने दल दर्ता गर्ने कामहरूमा पनि सक्रियता उहाँहरूको रहिरहेको छ। सबै उत्साहित हुनुहुन्छ, केही निरुत्साह पनि छ, जति निर्वाचन भए पनि के नै हुन्छ र भन्ने किसिमको जनताहरूमा केही निरुत्साह पनि छ। तर निर्वाचन आइसकेपछि त्यो सारगर्मीले सबैलाई उत्साहित बनाउँछ। यो सबैले सफल बनाउनका लागि प्रयास गर्नुपर्छ। सरकारको मुख्य काम भनेकै निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गर्ने हो।
मलाई जसम्म लाग्छ अबको यो विषम परिस्थितिलाई निकास दिने चाहिँ चुनाव नै हो, फागुन 21 को चुनाव नै हो जस्तो लाग्छ। त्यसको लागि चाहिँ विभिन्न राजनीतिक दलहरूले चाहिँ आफ्नो तयारी सुरु गरिसक्नु भएको हुँदाखेरि म पनि एकदमै एक्साइटेड छु। अब चाहिँ के हुन्छ देशमा हैन, देशलाई नयाँ बाटोमा लाने चाहिँ अब चुनाव नै हो। अब पहिलाकै पार्टीहरू फर्केर आउँछन् कि नयाँ पार्टीहरू आउँछन् कि स्वतन्त्र रूपमा मान्छेहरू आउँछन् कि के हुन्छ, त्यो चाहिँ अब चुनावबाटै थाहा हुन्छ नि त। हामीलाई घोषणा गर्ने चुनाव नै हो, त्यही भएर चाहिँ चुनाव चाहिँ हुनैपर्छ।
निर्वाचन चाहिँ हुनपर्छ भन्ने हामी दलहरूले, राजनीतिक दलहरूले निर्वाचन हुनुपर्छ, यो देशलाई निकास दिने चाहिँ अब निर्वाचनै हो
भन्ने चाहिँ हामीलाई पनि लागेको हो। तर अब अलिकति दुविधा पनि छ, निर्वाचन हुने या नहुने भने चिया पसलमा चाहिँ हल्लामा चाहिँ कतिले भन्छ निर्वाचन हुँदैन, कतिले भन्छ निर्वाचन हुन्छ। तर मलाई लाग्छ यो समयमा निर्वाचन हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ।
निर्वाचनको उत्साह जागेको छ, गाउँ गाउँ जाँदाखेरि निर्वाचन हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ तपाईँ भनिरहनु भएको छ र केही एकाध थोर बहुतले मात्रै हुन्छ कि हुन्न भन्ने छ। तर धेरैको चाहिँ निर्वाचन हुने कुरामा चाहिँ एकदम सुनिश्चित र उत्साह चाहिँ जागेको छ।
The Embassy of Nepal in Bangkok has repatriated 47 Nepali nationals involved in illegal activities, including online gambling, scams and illegal casinos. The individuals from 26 districts across Nepal were identified as and detained with the help of Thai authorities and returned safely to Nepal via Nepal Airlines on Wednesday. The embassy warned Nepali citizens to be cautious when seeking work abroad and to pursue only legal and verified opportunities. This operation highlights ongoing cooperation between Nepal and Thailand in combating cross-border crime and protecting citizens from illegal activities. To understand more about today's repatriation of the 47 Nepali nationals involved in illegal activities like online gambling, scams and illegal casinos from Thailand, I spoke with Nepali ambassador to Thailand, Dan Bahadur Oli. Let's now take a look at the key highlights from our conversation earlier. Do you think these incidents are isolated cases, or do they indicate a larger trend of Nepalese being exploited abroad?
Well, this is a bit different than what we have seen in other labor destinations. The difference is mainly the people, our citizens, those who are being trafficked, they are not illiterate. Basically, they are educated. They have knowledge of IT, and they have knowledge of good English language, so as they can communicate to others, and they can work in scamming. And it means our general normal awareness is not enough. We need to make them aware about like what are the situations they are facing here. They torture them. If they do not meet the target of the scammers, they torture them even up to death. Recently, we have sent some dead bodies as well, if you have noticed it before. So it is a serious matter for us. All younger generations, very young people, mainly the younger generations and educated people, they are being attracted with false promises of good job or opportunities. So these are the matters. That's why we need to focus more on investigation and bringing all those culprits into the network of our legal provisions. And we have to be serious on that. But here, as an embassy, as we work abroad, we are more focused on our rescue, repatriations, and safety of our Nepalese people abroad. But back home, I suppose I'm hopeful that our mechanisms are working on that direction seriously. But the number is increasing. And if I see one rescue people from our missions in these 3 years, the number is increasing. It's really alarming and serious.
And lastly, Your Excellency, I'd like to ask, Thailand, the country, is very much sought after destination for tourism for Nepali nationals. How do you think this event will affect this?
Well, Thailand is not the destinations for all those traffickers. It's being a transit country. So basically from Nepal to Thailand, UAE to Thailand, or India to Thailand, they come from different destinations to Thailand, but they are not working in Thailand. Basically, they are working in Golden Triangle, that is bordering to Thailand. So it's in Myanmar, it's in Cambodia, it's in Laos. In that Golden Triangle, it's a huge network of all international scammers, and all these IT-based crimes are happening. So many people from many countries, almost 38 countries, are being involved in that. Our people are being trafficked via Thailand. It's not the destination itself. Thailand is not the destination. It's the transit country, and people are bringing them from different destinations and bring them back here in Thailand, and then they traffic them to those Golden Triangle area, where they have very huge establishments so far, we understand through international media. So it's not Thailand itself. It's a transit country.
Mm-hmm. You're still with NTV World News Hour. Now moving on. Bandipur, a scenic hilltop town in central Nepal, is becoming a rising star in tourism, attracting both domestic and international visitors with its preserved Newari culture, traditional architecture and breathtaking Himalayan views. With the Visit Bandipur Year 2025 campaign gaining momentum, the town is showcasing its rich heritage and natural beauty, drawing between 500 and 1,000 tourists daily. Rojina Rai brings a report.
Bandipur, a picturesque hill station in the central Nepal, is steadily emerging as a popular tourist destination. The enchanting hilltop town is famous for its preserved Newari culture, traditional architecture, and majestic views of the snow-capped Himalayas. The town, which resonates to a picture of one of the historic cities of Nepal, Bhaktapur, has become scenic escape for both domestic and international travelers. Locals say the number of visitors are consistently increasing in recent months.
Golden गाउँघरहरुकोमा राम्रो फ्लो छ विदेशी पर्यटकको पनि र आन्तरिक पर्यटकको त बजारमा छिर्ने ठाउँै छैन.
Visit Bandipur Year 2025 is playing a key role in drawing visitors to explore the place's heritage. To encourage longer stay, 17 major sites including the Mari Mukandeswari Wall, also known as the Mini Great Wall, spiritual temples and caves have been identified. Visitors say Bandipur's charm remains alive in mind and heart due to its authenticity blended with preserved heritage and nature.
नेपालमा ऐतिहासिक कलात्मक बोकेको शहरको एउटा जीवित एउटा चाहिँ संस्कृति बन्दीपुर बजारमा मैले पाएँ.
मलाई अलिकति अलि तनाव भयो भने म बन्दीपुर आउँछु. म यहाँ आएपछि एकदमै फ्रेश पनि हुन्छु. त्यही कारणले पनि म बन्दीपुर आउँछु.
The town now welcomes between 500 and 1,000 visitors daily. One can experience Newari heritage, Himalayan views, stone-paved streets, temples and monasteries, nature adventure and peaceful environment in Bandipur. With its unique blend of culture, ecotourism, Bandipur is not just a destination. It's an experience waiting to be discovered.
International updates coming up next, but for now, a quick reminder of our top stories. Nepal government signs agreement with Gen Z groups, pledges transparency and anti-corruption measures. 100 political parties submit applications for Nepal's proportional elections system, commissioned to review and approve applications ahead of a March 5 polls. Nepal observes International Human Rights Day. Country faces scrutiny as human rights concerns emerge over recent protests. Nepal repatriates 47 nationals involved in online scams and illegal gambling in Thailand. Embassy urges citizens to seek only legal overseas employment. Storm Byron threatens Gaza. Flash floods, strong winds and hail put displaced families at high risk. And Lumbini Lions beat Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets in NPL Eliminator to face off Biratnagar Kings in Qualify 2. The United Nations says around 200,000 people have fled their homes to the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo after the M23 rebel group launched a new offensive backed by neighboring Rwanda, the UN says. Local officials report the rebels have pushed into the outskirts of Uvira, a strategically crucial city in South Kivu province, just days after a U.S. brokered peace effort in Washington. At least 74 people have been killed and several military positions have fallen. The peace agreement signed last week obliges Rwanda to halt all support to armed groups, but the rebels themselves were not part of the accord. Both Kinshasa and Kigali accuse each other of violating previous ceasefires, and the rapid advances by M23 are now seen as a major setback to diplomatic progress. In Australia, iconic landmarks across all states and territories, including the Sydney Harbour Bridge, were lit up in green and gold on December 10 to mark the launch of the country's world's first social media safety laws for children. The light began at 8 p.m. Australian time, with bridges, towers and public buildings taking part in a nationwide display. The new laws have drawn international attention as governments worldwide search for models to curb harmful content and protect minors online. Authorities say the legislation aims to hold tech companies more accountable while giving parents greater control over how children use digital platforms. Australia's move could set a global precedent as nations grapple with how to protect young people in the age of algorithmic influence. We're going for a short break once again. Business news coming up next.
The lower house of French Parliament narrowly approved a social security budget, clearing a major hurdle for Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu as he seeks to finalize the 2026 spending plan by year-end. France, the Eurozone's second-largest economy, is under pressure to cut its budget deficit, but efforts have been hamstrung by a fragmented parliament, the result of snap elections President Emmanuel Macron called last year. The Premier has promised to secure approval for a spending plan by the end of December, but in a bid to avoid the fate of his two predecessors, who were toppled over cost-cutting measures, he has pledged to abandon a controversial constitutional power used in the past to ram the spending plan through Parliament without a vote. This had led to protracted debates on the two main parts of the budget, the state budget bill and draft law for the social security budget. The version of the bill lawmakers approved included the suspension of a 2023 pensions reform to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. That was needed to secure the support of the Socialists' swing group in Parliament. The Maldives government, through the Board of Investments on Tuesday, issued the permit for the development of the country's first sustainable township project under the Special Economic Zones Act. The permit was granted to Crystal Holdings Private Limited, pursuant to its formal application and subsequent approval by the board at its 10th sitting of 2025. With an investment exceeding $790 million, the project represents a significant step forward in attracting next-generation, multi-sector developments beyond conventional tourism-based models. The township will combine luxury hospitality and residential components with key social and economic sectors, including a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that positions Maldives as a premier destination for medical and wellness tourism and international hospitality, and leadership school, and a dedicated island for advanced agriculture and aquaculture systems aimed at strengthening national food security. The development will be powered by a minimum of 60% renewable energy, contributing to reduced national carbon emissions. Targeted to commence operations by 2028, the project is expected to generate high-value employment, diversify regional economic activity, attract long-stay visitors and high-net-worth segments, and contribute to broader national growth objectives. Tech giants Amazon and Microsoft have announced a combined $52.5 billion investment plan for India over the coming years. Amazon said on Wednesday it was pumping in $35 billion into India by 2030 to advance AI-driven digitization, export growth, and job creation, a day after Microsoft committed $17.5 billion to strengthen the country's AI ecosystem. India, which is an emerging AI and cloud infrastructure infrastructure hub, has witnessed a surge of global tech investments recently. In October, Google announced a $15 billion investment to build an AI data hub. And earlier this week, Intel announced collaboration with Mumbai-based Tata Electronics as its first major customer in the latter's $14 billion semiconductor manufacturing plans. Japan's legal ivory market is under global scrutiny as concerns grow over its potential impact on international trade. Despite an international ban on elephant ivory, Japan allows domestic sales from stockpiles acquired before 1989 or through government auctions. Tokyo's high-end districts, including Ginza, will feature shops selling carved ivory ornaments, Buddha statues, and jewelry. While domestic demand is declining, Caesar suggests ivory is leaving Japan illegally, feeding black markets in China and other countries. Since 2008, authorities worldwide have intercepted more than 3,600 kilograms of ivory linked to Japan. Some shipments were large enough to indicate organized criminal involvement. Japan maintains strict domestic controls, but experts warn that even low levels of leakage undermine global conservation efforts and stimulate demand across Asia. With domestic sales slowing and stockpiles piling up, Japan faces increasing pressure from the international community to curb its ivory trade, highlighting the challenges of balancing traditional markets with global conservation goals. Nepal government has officially notified Mauritius about the termination of the bilateral double taxation avoidance agreement signed on August 3, 1999. The notification was sent through diplomatic channels. According to Madan Dahal, Director General of the Inland Revenue Department, the letter was dispatched to the government of Mauritius in accordance with Article 29(1) of the agreement. This diplomatic step was necessary to align Nepal with significant changes in domestic tax laws and the global taxation system. The Monday's meeting of the Council of Ministers took a decision to this effect. The department stated that Nepal has undertaken extensive reforms to the Income Tax Act and the incorporation of advanced provisions aimed at preventing tax abuse no longer aligns with the treaty. In particular, the limitation of benefits provision under Section 73(5) of the Act poses challenges to implementing the agreement. The government has said that terminating outdated treaties will pave the way for new tax agreements that better reflect contemporary needs.
Now the sports update. Cambodia pulls its full delegation from the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand over safety concerns linked to a border dispute. The country has announced it is withdrawing its entire sporting delegation from the 33rd Southeast Asian Games currently being hosted by Thailand. The National Olympic Committee of Cambodia says it informed organizers on Wednesday morning, citing heightened tensions along the Cambodia-Thailand border and what it describes as serious concerns and requests from the families of their athletes. The committee says the safety of its competitors must take priority and that the ongoing border dispute has created uncertainties that make participation unsafe. Now the weather updates, first from Nepal and then across the world. before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nepal government signs agreement with Gen Z groups, pledges transparency and anti-corruption measures. 100 political parties submit applications for Nepal's proportional election system commission to review and approve applications ahead of March 5 polls. Nepal observes International Human Rights Day. Country faces scrutiny as human rights concerns emerge over recent protests. Nepal repatriates 47 nationals involved in online scams and illegal gambling in Thailand. Embassy urges citizens to seek only legal overseas employment. Storm Byron threatens Gaza. Flash floods, strong winds and hail put displaced families at high risk. And Lumini Lions beat Kathmandu Gorkhas by 4 wickets in NPL eliminator to face off Viratnagar Kings in Qualifier 2. And that's it for this edition of the News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, www.nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smita Gising Tamang signing off. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.